Good morning. This is Fred Hadley reporting live from Cornwall E. We're looking down at the scene of what was a pedestrian fatality. We're not completely sure what happened yet. We're just getting here on the scene. We're coming down the stairwell now. We received a phone call from Al Fixit this morning that a woman has been struck and apparently killed. We're heading over to the scene right now. Hi, do you know what happened?
Somebody got hit by a car. That's them right in the road right there. The body bag.
Where's the bag? I don't see it.
Behind this car right there.
Thank you. Do you know anything about her or how old she was? Or
No.
well, there apparently is the deceased under the drop cloth. Got a lot of emergency vehicles here, as you can see. If you're just joining us, apparently it's been a fatal pedestrian accident on Century Village Boulevard, just west of the intersection of Cornwall Drive. And police and fire rescue are on the scene here. Don't know the particulars, but it appears that the woman, I think it's a woman, was crossing not at an intersection and was struck, I presume, by this blue car. It's got substantial front end damage. I think it's a Chevy. Looks like hit her with substantial force to do that kind of damage. I presume that this is the driver, but we don't know for sure. Have to be extremely careful here in Century Village. A lot of people driving that shouldn't be driving. This time of day, a lot of sun glare. Once again, we're on Century Village Boulevard, and we're just east of Cornwall Drive. Make that west of Cornwall Drive. It's between Brighton and Cornwall E. This is Cornwall E building. And it looks like this westbound Chevy struck the deceased in the right lane on the westbound side of Century Village Boulevard. Good morning. We're on Facebook Live. What do you know, Al?
Nothing. Just passed by and saw the deceased being covered up.
What kind of Chevy is that? Do you know Chevy what?
No idea. Mini SUV.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the driver there on.
I would think that would be the driver. And
The dog underneath the sheet, so she was obviously walking a dog
there's a dog underneath the sheet?
under the other sheet. Yep.
Where's the other sheet?
Further back.
Further back. Is the dog deceased?
It's quivering. They covered.
Oh, jeez.
The sandals are way down the block too.
No, we just found out from Al Fixit that a dog was also killed by the collision. You can see the second sheet right at the intersection there. If you're just joining us, this is Fred Hadley. There's been a fatal collision involving this Chevy mini SUV. I'm not exactly sure the model, what it's called. And a woman who was apparently walking her dog. Apparently,
Hi, sir. Can you?
this is the driver over here.
All right, we're gonna close this down, sir. We're gonna close this down.
Okay.
Can you step back?
Okay, yes, sir. On our way.
Hey,
Be careful because the buses use these lanes.
well, you know what? Right now it's a crime scene. It's a crime scene, sir. It's a crime scene.
Apparently, that's the
I say we take
the
all
deceased dog over there.
They want to keep it open because residents come out of this community right here. They're going to go through here.
There's no detour. You want me to cut it? Yep. All right. Walk it down. Yeah, all the way.
We're at this fairly busy intersection here. Century Village Boulevard and Cornwall Drive.
But it won't sit on this one.
Yeah, well, that way, or they're gonna have to detour.
Yeah, they have to go that way.
So there you see there's two covers. The one in the foreground here at the intersection of Cornwall Drive and Century Village Boulevard is a dog. And further down the road is the woman who we believe was walking the dog. We don't have any ID yet on the woman. The police are taping up this whole scene, which I guess they're treating as a crime scene.
In the right direction.
We see a couple of shoes in the roadway here.
Watch out, sir. No send traffic that way.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So apparently the point of impact was about over here, since I don't think the shoes would have gone this far.
Watch out, sir. Watch out.
If you're just joining us, this is Fred Hadley at Century Village Boulevard and Cornwall Drive inside Century Village Boca, where there's been a double fatality, one involving a dog and the probably the owner that was walking the dog. All we know is supposedly it's a woman. Both of the remains are covered. And there's a blue Chevy that has suffered rather extensive front end damage. And apparently they've determined that the woman is deceased, obviously, if she's been covered up and fire rescue has left. So I guess now they're waiting for the coroner to come. This all happened, let's see, right now it's 9:03, so this must have happened about 8:45 this morning As you can see, conditions are sunny and clear. There is a considerable amount of sun glare as you look in this direction, but that's not the way the driver was headed. The driver was headed westbound on Century Village Boulevard. Apparently, we don't know for sure, could have been turning from Cornwall Drive, although the position of the shoes in the roadway would seem to indicate that the point of impact occurred about where that white car is turning now. You can see there's two sandals lying there in the roadway. And it's a sad story that we're reporting on this morning. I don't like to see anybody get hurt. Most of the time these accidents are minor fender benders. You see a motorcycle deputy on the other side of Century Village Boulevard now. The fire rescue was here a little while ago, but there's nothing to rescue now. It's become a recovery operation. And everything is, as you can see, cordoned off here. Oh, apparently a woman got hit by that blue car and she's laying under the deceased. And that was her dog. Double fatality here. I don't know what's going to happen now. The bus is coming down the bus lane, which they've got taped off. Now the deputy is going to talk to the bus driver. I would imagine he'll take down the tape, let the bus get through, since I don't think they're going to back them up. So there you see the two sandals laying in the roadway. Apparently that's where the dog fell. And just behind the blue Chevy is the covered body of the deceased woman. We just have to presume that she was attempting to cross the boulevard here when she was struck by the blue vehicle, which has substantial front end damage. They've got this all taped off now, so we're not going to be able to get any closer to the vehicle, but at the beginning of the video, there's pretty good damage to the front end of that car. Had to be going at a pretty good rate of speed. My guess is substantially faster than the posted 20-mile-an-hour limit here in speed limit in Century Village, Boca, in order to crumble that hood up like it did. And just goes to show you can't be too careful.
Go that way. Another exit that way? No, this way. To the bus lane.
As you can see, the traffic coming out of Cornwall is going to be forced onto a detour. Everything is roped off from the middle, from roughly the tennis court. It looks like they've got a police car sideways. And of course, this is the busy intersection at Cornwall Drive and Brighton. Once again, there's been a double fatality involving a pedestrian and her dog. The dog you can see over here near the intersection.
Back up just a little bit, you're inside the crime center.
Yes, sir.
Just to the stop sign.
Yes, sir. I'm on my
We
way.
got a cell phone right there.
Yes, sir. No problem at all, sir.
Back up. There you go.
No problem. Thank you, sir. You bet. Well, as you can hear, it's been officially designated a crime scene. Now you see we have two buses backed up. Looks like the 4 and the 2. They're like in the bus lane. and apparently being held by the sheriff's deputies. They had no involvement with the accident. They just came along, I guess, the 9 o'clock run, and I see they're backing off one of the buses now. It's a little tricky to back that bus up because it's got to go around a curve, but they're doing it. Why they wouldn't just lift the tape up and let them proceed, at least now that they're in the lane here, don't know.
You gotta go. It's a crime scene. You gotta go to the other side.
And the second bus is backing up now. Good morning. Looks like a woman and a dog were hit by that blue vehicle, that Chevy. The dog is under the first tarp right there.
Oh, and who's the other one?
And the woman apparently is the second tarp.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and the front end of that Chevy is all bashed in. So she must have hit the woman. I'm not an expert, but I would say she was well in excess of 20 miles an hour. A woman and a dog were killed by that car, the blue car. So once again, we're at Century Village Boulevard and Cornwall Drive. Fairly busy intersection, not as busy as the next one, where Clubhouse Drive comes into the boulevard, but it's a pretty busy intersection. Century Village Boulevard is a 4-lane road at this point, which tends to encourage a lot of speeding. People are always passing because there's 2 lanes in each direction. Every time something like this happens, there's going to be always a cry that, well, we need to put speed bumps in, but I'm here 13 years. We used to have speed bumps at the next intersection. But it actually, in my opinion, contributed to accidents because it causes confusion. When the boulevard slows down for the speed bump, the guy on the side street misinterprets it and thinks he's yielding. Then he shoots forward, and the guy who clears the speed bump knows he's on the boulevard, so he's not looking at the side street, and there's a collision. So once the speed bumps were removed at the next intersection from Century Village Boulevard, which after all, 4-lane road has to have priority over a side street, the confusion ended. It was very obvious that the side street must yield. And they even put up signs under the stop sign saying cross traffic does not stop. So in our opinion, speed bumps don't reduce the chance of an accident, but can actually contribute by sending false cues to the side street driver that the main boulevard is slowing down for them, when in fact they're slowing down for a speed bump. So I don't think that's the answer to this. There's been talk over the years about getting the sheriff in here to enforce the vehicle rules about speed and stop signs, but I don't know yet whether the village has been fully brought up to code. But one of the stumbling blocks was that we had non-standard pavement markings, even the stop sign heights they didn't like. As you can see, there's one that's about 7 feet away, 7 feet high, and right here, this might be, these might be okay. I think they're supposed to be 9 feet above the ground. We had a lot of stop signs that were much lower. But now that everything is striped and they have stop lines and the stop signs have been raised, the only thing that would prevent the sheriff coming in here is money. Well, I know that up in Century Village, West Palm Beach, the oldest and largest, well, I don't know if it's the largest now, but It's got 7,854 units. They pay, I believe, $200,000 or more per year to have a sheriff's car permanently or regularly patrolling their premises, and they're very active in giving out tickets in the other Century Village in West Palm Beach, about 30-40 miles north of here. We've not yet had any kind of enforcement, but now that the lane markings, stop signs, and all have been brought up to standard, it may be time to do that. It's a question of, do we want to spend the money? And then there's the political question of, people don't like getting tickets, which can contribute to insurance premium increases, or even dropping of an insured if you get too many tickets. So that's a whole other issue. But in the meantime, it would do you well to be very, very observant and careful. You should not be listening to music or talking on your cell phone when you're walking. The paths here, remember, these paths are shared by bicycles and pedestrians. You're in a traffic situation. Traffic. That means there are vehicles, there are things moving around that can cause you great harm. And your number one priority is to pay attention to your situation and know who's behind you, who's in front of you. And if you're going to listen to music, just do it with one ear plug in so that you can hear any warnings, beeps, or bicycle horns, and be very careful. They can see they're adjusting the tarp now on the dog. Some impatient drivers over there in Dorset. We'll just take one last look over here. What you're looking at is the vehicle, and apparently that's the driver, although we don't have positive identification on that, but I believe that that's the driver. She was talking to the police for quite a while. Obviously, she remained on the scene. And as you can see, the front end of that Chevy is bashed in. Looks like it was a direct hit. Looks like damage to the grill and the hood. Can't tell from here if the windshield is intact. It's hard to tell because of all the sun, but police are now talking with the victim and a gentleman which may or may not be related to her. Well, they got the two buses out of here, and presumably they'll prevent any more buses from coming into the lane. This has been declared an official crime scene. Whether there'll be any arrests made, we don't know. We will file information requests with the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office information officer as soon as we conclude this broadcast, but usually it'll take a few days to get the report. As you can see, a number of sheriff's cars here. There's a motorcycle, and so there you see the front end of the Chevy, and just behind it is the body of the deceased woman, and the dog is still there just behind the woman, right in the intersection, and right near there you can still see the sandals that obviously belonged to the deceased. So you got everything here in one shot, from Sandal to K9 to the woman victim, the Chevy, and the presumed driver. So I think we've covered everything that we can cover on this. I think the next step, they're waiting for the coroner to come. They'll come, send the crime scene unit over, take pictures, make interviews, and that's that. Whether it'll be something that charges will be filed for is up to the police. They have to make a determination whether there was any fault. But whenever you strike a pedestrian in a 20-mile-an-hour zone and crumble up your car like that, it doesn't look good. Does not look good. It appears that speed would have been a factor here, because if that woman had been going 20 miles an hour, she probably would have just brushed the woman aside or whatever. But to get that kind of intensive damage certainly suggests wrongdoing on the part of the driver. But we don't want to come to any conclusions. You never know what could have happened. So that's about it for now. This has been Fred Hadley reporting for the Village Century live over Facebook. And summarize: a woman and her dog were fatally struck by this Chevy that was headed westbound. Apparently, we didn't see it, on Century Village Boulevard, and the impact point appears to be right at the intersection with Cornwall Drive, where there are still sandals lying in the roadway. And you can also see the covered up dog is the small cover on the left, and then in the center of your screen is the body of the deceased, and this is the Chevy, and this is the presumed driver. So thank you very much for watching. Wish we could bring you better news on this beautiful, sunny, hot, dry Florida morning. If you like this video, you have any questions, please use the comments below. Thank you very much. Reporting live from Century Village, Fred Hadley.